My name is Clara Wren. I was 34, 3 weeks out from an emergency C-section. And on the first night in the first house I had ever owned, my mother called me and said, "We're moving in tomorrow. Your sister's family is coming too." I don't do boundaries with my grandchild. Don't like it? Take the baby and leave. The baby she meant was asleep in a bassinet beside a half-built bookshelf. The house she called hers had my name on the deed. And the woman who said I could leave had spent my whole life telling everyone that the man who might have protected me was dead. I did not yell. I did not remind her that I had bought the house with my savings, my credit, and my signature still sore from signing closing papers while my incision pulled every time I breathed too deeply. I just looked at the little brass mobile turning above my daughter's bassinet, pressed one hand over my stitches, and said, "Okay, Mom, come at noon." She paused because she expected a fight. I had always given her one of two things: obedience or apology. Either I folded quietly or I explained myself until she got tired and won anyway. But that night I gave her neither. "Good," she said, already satisfied. "Your sister needs the bigger bedroom for the twins. I'll take the room closest to the nursery. You can sleep wherever. New mothers shouldn't be alone with babies anyway." I looked down at my daughter Lily, wrapped in a yellow blanket so soft it seemed impossible that the world could still be sharp. "Come at noon," I repeated. After I hung up, the house went completely still. Not peaceful. Still. A new house has a silence that has not learned you yet. No old footsteps in the hall, no familiar hum from the vents, no place where your body automatically knows to turn in the dark. Boxes were stacked in the dining room with black marker labels: kitchen, nursery, Clara's books, Lily's clothes. One box near the stairs had fallen open, spilling burp cloths and tiny socks across the hardwood. On the counter sat the silver key the realtor had handed me that afternoon. Besides, it was a blue metal cookie tin with chipped paint, tied shut with string. That tin was the reason I had not screamed at my mother. It was the reason I had bought this house. And it was the reason everyone who walked in at noon the next day would freeze in my doorway. I picked up my phone and called the first number on a business card tucked under the tin. The man answered on the second ring. "Clara?" "Yes," I said. "She just called. She's bringing everyone tomorrow." There was a pause. Not surprise, readiness. "What time?" "Noon." He exhaled slowly. "Then we'll be there by 11:30. I looked toward the bassinet. "You're sure?" "No," he said softly. "But I've waited 31 years to be in the same room as your mother with proof. I'm not missing noon." His name was Samuel Hale. For most of my life, I knew him by a different name: Deadbeat, Cord, the man who left, the man who never sent a birthday card, the man my mother said died somewhere in Arizona and did not deserve flowers. He was also my father. And tomorrow, my mother was going to walk into my dream house and find him sitting in my living room. But before I tell you about noon, I need you to understand why my mother thought she could order me out of a house I bought with a newborn asleep beside me. In my family, I was not Clara. I was the useful one. My older sister, Marissa, was the fragile one, even though she had never been fragile a day in her life. She was beautiful in the way women get called delicate while other women clean up after them. She cried easily, loudly, and always in rooms with witnesses. My mother called her sensitive. I called her expensive, but only in my head. Marissa got dance classes, orthodontics, prom dresses, a wedding with white orchids flown in from somewhere my mother could never afford but somehow did. I got instructions: "Clara, set the table. Clara, watch your sister. Clara, don't start trouble. Clara, you know how your mother gets." My mother, Vivian Wren, was the kind of woman people described as strong because they never had to live under her strength. She ran the women's committee at church, organized meal trains, remembered everyone's anniversary, and cried with both hands over her chest when someone else's child had a hard season. In public, she was a saint with good lipstick. At home, she had a voice that could turn a room into a courtroom. My stepfather, Len, was not cruel. That almost made him worse. Cruel people at least have edges you can point to. Len was soft, absent, and constantly tired. He survived my mother by becoming furniture. He sat in his recliner, watched the weather, and said things like, "Don't upset your mother," while she upset everyone else. I learned early that peace in our house meant my silence. When I was 8, Marissa dropped my science project down the basement stairs because she wanted the poster board for a school election sign. I cried. My mother told me Marissa had big feelings and I should be understanding. I spent the night redoing the project on cardboard from a cereal box, When I was 12, I won a regional essay contest. The prize was a weekend writing camp. My mother said we could not afford the gas, then spent twice the amount on Marissa's pageant entry fee. I told my teacher I had changed my mind. When I was 15, I found an old photograph in a shoebox in the garage. A man standing beside my mother at a county fair, one arm around her waist, his face turned toward her with the kind of open happiness that makes old photos feel alive. He was tall, with dark curly hair and a crooked smile. On the back in blue ink someone had written, Vivian and Sam, 1989. I took it to my mother. Who's Sam? She looked at the photo for 1 second before snatching it from my hand. No one. He looks like me. The slap came so fast I did not see her arm move. Not hard enough to leave a mark, hard enough to leave a rule. Do not dig through things that don't belong to you, she said. I never asked again. Years later, when I was old enough to understand that Len was not my biological father, my mother gave me the story in pieces. Samuel Hale was reckless. Samuel Hale drank. Samuel Hale left when I was a baby. Samuel Hale did not want the responsibility. Samuel Hale never paid $1. Samuel Hale died in a motorcycle crash before I turned 10. He made his choices, she said, folding towels with sharp little snaps. I was the one who stayed. That became the family truth. It was repeated so often that eventually it did not need evidence. My Aunt Paula would sigh and say, Your mother did everything alone. Len would nod. Marissa would roll her eyes when I was sad on Father's Day, as if mourning a man I never knew was greedy. I learned not to want him. I learned that wanting a father made me ungrateful to the mother who stayed. That is one way control works. It does not only tell you what happened, it tells you what you are allowed to miss. I became a hospital discharge planner because I was good at handling chaos quietly. My job was to sit with patients and families at the exact moment life became paperwork. Wheelchairs, home oxygen, insurance denials, rehab placements, care instructions. People looked at me in panic and I made lists. I liked lists. Lists did not shout. Lists did not rewrite history. By 30, I had a steady job, a small apartment, a reliable car, and a habit of answering my mother's calls even when my stomach tightened at her ringtone. Marissa had a husband named Blake, twin boys, a half-finished renovation, and a talent for needing help precisely when I had none left to give. When I found out I was pregnant, I was alone. The father was not a villain. He was not good enough for that, he was simply weak. We had dated for 10 months. When I told him, he stared at the kitchen floor and said, I'm not ready to be trapped. I thanked him for his honesty, because that is what women like me sometimes do when we are bleeding internally but still polite. Then I blocked his number. I told my mother at Sunday dinner. I was 11 weeks along and still sick every morning. Marissa was complaining about contractors. Len was cutting meat into pieces too small for a grown man. My mother was pouring sweet tea. I'm pregnant, I said. The room went quiet. For one impossible second, I hoped she would cross the kitchen and hug me. Instead, she set the pitcher down. Well, she said. That's unfortunate timing, Marissa asked. Are you keeping it? My hand went to my stomach. Yes. My mother sighed as if I had spilled something on her carpet. You always did make things harder than they needed to be. That night, I drove home with one hand on the steering wheel and one on my belly. And I made my first real vow as a mother. My daughter would not grow up begging cold people to become warm. I started saving harder. I took extra shifts helping with weekend discharge coordination. I canceled cable. I sold jewelry I never wore. I packed lunches until I was sick of peanut butter and apples. I wanted a house before Lily was born. Not because a house fixes loneliness, but because I needed a door my mother did not have a key to. I found the house in Maple Bend in February. It was small, pale yellow, with a wide front porch and a maple tree that leaned slightly over the driveway. The kitchen had old white cabinets. The upstairs had 2 bedrooms and a small office with slanted ceilings. There was a fenced backyard, not big, but sunny. The first time I walked through it, I stood in the future nursery and cried so hard the realtor pretended to check the water pressure. I made an offer that afternoon. My mother found out because Marissa saw the listing saved on my laptop when she came over to borrow my printer and left with my good laundry basket. The call came that night. You're buying a house? My mother asked. I'm trying to. With what money? My money. She laughed, not loudly, worse kindly. Clara, don't be ridiculous. You can barely manage pregnancy alone. A house is too much. Besides, Marissa needs space. You know the twins are sharing a room during the renovation. This house is for me and the baby. You have always been selfish when you feel insecure. I closed my eyes. I'm not discussing this. You will need help after the birth. I know. Then don't start acting independent now. It's unattractive. That word stayed with me. Unattractive, as if independence was a bad hairstyle. I did not tell her when my offer was accepted. I did not tell her when I scheduled the inspection. I did not tell her when the loan was approved. And I definitely did not tell her about the blue metal cookie tin. That tin arrived in March, 2 weeks before Lily was born. It came through my Aunt Paula, though not because Paula meant to help me. Paula was cleaning out her garage and found a box of my grandmother's things. My grandmother Elise had died when I was 16. She had been my mother's mother, a blunt woman with silver hair and hands that smelled like flour. She loved me in quiet ways. Extra biscuits. $5 bills tucked into my backpack. A sweater she said shrunk in the wash but fit me perfectly. Paula dropped the box at my apartment and said, "Your mother didn't want any of this junk." Inside were recipe cards, old church bulletins, a cracked ceramic angel, and the blue cookie tin. I almost threw it away, then I heard something shift inside. The tin was tied with string so old it left dust on my fingers. When I opened it, the first thing I saw was a stack of birthday cards, all addressed to me, Clara Elise Hale, not Wren. Hale. The envelopes were yellowed and unopened. Some had returned to sender stamps. Some had handwriting across the front. No such person at this address moved. No forwarding refused. There were 31 cards, one for every birthday. Under them were copies of money orders, court receipts, letters. A photo of the man from the county fair holding a baby wrapped in a green blanket. Me. At the bottom was a folded letter from my grandmother Elise. "Clara, if this tin finds you after I am gone, forgive an old woman for being afraid too long. Your father did not leave you. He paid. He wrote. He came twice and your mother called the police both times. Vivian told him you were better off without him. Later she told us he stopped trying. I believed her because it was easier than fighting my own daughter. That was my shame. The account in your name was real. Sam funded it until the court stopped sending notices. Ask the bank. Ask the county. Do not ask Vivian. She knows exactly what she did." I sat on my kitchen floor for so long my legs went numb. Then I threw up in the sink. Pregnancy makes the body dramatic, but that nausea came from somewhere deeper. 31 birthday cards, 31 years of being told silence meant abandonment. The next morning, I called the bank listed on the old receipts, then the county clerk, then a family records office, then, because I had handled enough hospital paperwork to know that institutions move faster. When you sound like you already know the next form, I requested everything in writing. It took 10 days. In those 10 days, I read every card. Some were simple. "Happy 5th birthday, Ladybug. I hope you like blue this year. I remember you liked grabbing my blue shirt." Some were careful. "I'm still here. If they let you read this someday, know I never stopped sending." Some were angry but never at me. "Your mother says contact upsets your routine. I don't know if that is true. I don't know what they tell you. I'm paying what the court ordered and more. I'm keeping copies. Someday paper will remember what people don't." That sentence became my rope. Paper will remember what people don't. The bank records came back first. A custodial account had been opened in my name when I was 3. Samuel Hale had deposited money every month for 14 years. Child support, education funds, birthday gifts, medical reimbursements. When I turned 18, the account should have transferred to me. It did not. 3 weeks before my 18th birthday, Vivian Wren, acting as custodian, emptied the account, $48,000, the same month. Marissa got a new car. I remembered that car, a red Honda with a bow on it. My mother said Len had gotten a good bonus. The court records came next. Samuel Hale had petitioned for visitation twice. The first time, my mother claimed he was unstable. The second time, she claimed I was terrified of him. There was a statement in the file allegedly signed by me when I was 9. "I do not want to see Samuel Hale. He scares me." I had never written that. At 9, I did not even know his first name. The signature looked childish because someone had made it childish on purpose. Big round letters, a backward R, too perfect in its wrongness. That was the first document I sent to Dana Cho. Donna was an attorney I knew from the hospital. She specialized in family fraud and estate disputes, the kind of cases where people used blood as camouflage. I had met her through a patient discharge nightmare involving guardianship abuse. She was small, sharp, and had a way of listening that made lies feel nervous. She read the files in silence, then she looked up and asked, "Do you want to find him?" My hands went cold. "Is he alive?" "Yes," she said. "Samuel Hale. He lives in Ashford, Oregon. He owns a small cabinet-making shop. No criminal record. No motorcycle crash. No grave, no death. Just a man alive somewhere, probably thinking his daughter had chosen not to know him. I placed both hands over my belly. Lily kicked once, hard, like punctuation. Yes, I said, find him. The first call with my father lasted 7 minutes. Neither of us knew how to speak. Dana had reached him first, verified who he was, warned him not to overwhelm me, and then asked if I was willing to hear his voice. I said yes. The phone rang once, then a man said, Clara. I could not answer. He started crying first, not loudly, not dramatically, just one broken inhale. I'm sorry, he said. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I sat on my couch with one hand on the blue tin and the other on my stomach. For what? I whispered. For not getting through. That was the first sentence anyone had ever said to me that made the shape of my childhood change. Not for leaving, not for failing, for not getting through. We spoke every day after that, small at first. Medical history, favorite foods, photos, stories. He told me he had driven from Oregon twice when I was little. The first time, my mother would not open the door. The second time, police arrived because she said he was trespassing and frightening the child. I could hear you laughing inside, he said. You were watching cartoons. I remember because the song was from some bear show. I stood on the porch with a stuffed rabbit in a gift bag and listened to you laugh, and the officer told me I had to leave. I cried so hard I had to hang up and call him back later. He did not push. That was how I knew he was not like my mother. He let silence belong to me. When Lily was born, emergency lights bright and my body open on a table. Samuel was not there. We were not ready for that, but he stayed on the phone with Dana in the waiting room, 3 states away, until she texted him that both of us were safe. The next morning he sent flowers, not red roses, white daisies and blue irises. The card said, Welcome to the world, Lily. Your grandfather has been waiting for you too. I placed it beside the hospital bassinet and cried into a paper napkin. 3 weeks later, I closed on the house. The down payment was mine. Years of savings, overtime, exhaustion, discipline. But the final push came from something that felt like justice breathing for the first time. Dana had filed a claim regarding the custodial account and forged minor statement. The bank, after reviewing the documents and exposure risk, agreed to a confidential preliminary restitution payment while the broader case was investigated. It was not everything. It was not even close to everything. But it covered closing costs, legal fees, and the emergency cushion a new mother needs. Paper remembered, I signed the deed as Clara Elise Wren, because that was still my legal name. But on the page under emergency contact, I wrote Samuel Hale, not because he had earned fatherhood in a week, because my mother no longer got to be the only name history kept. On moving day, Samuel flew in. I met him at the airport with Lily strapped to my chest. I thought it would be awkward. It was. Then it wasn't. He looked older than the county fair photo. Of course. Gray at the temples, lines around his eyes, hands rough from woodworking. But the crooked smile was the same. He did not reach for me. He stood 3 feet away and said, May I hug you? I nodded. He hugged me like someone holding a glass object he had already lost once. Then he looked down at Lily and whispered, Hello, little light. I had not told my family he was coming. I had not told them I knew. Dana advised silence until the documents were filed. She had already contacted the county regarding the forged childhood statement. She had opened the bank review. She had arranged for a formal demand letter to Vivian. But timing mattered. You have spent your whole life being forced to react in rooms Vivian controlled, Dana said. This time, we choose the room. My mother chose it for us when she called on the first night in my new house. We're moving in tomorrow. My incision was burning. Lily was cluster feeding. I had not slept more than 90 minutes at a stretch in days. The old Clara, the one trained to prevent storms, might have begged. She might have said, Mom, please, not now. She might have apologized for needing rest in her own house. But the blue tin sat on the counter. Samuel was staying in a hotel 10 minutes away. Dana had a file ready. And my mother had just announced she would bring the whole family to my door. So I said, Come at noon. Then I called Samuel, then Dana. Then I fed my daughter in the dark while the house slowly learned the sound of us. At 11:30 the next morning, my living room was ready, not staged ready. Samuel sat in the armchair by the front window, wearing a gray button-down shirt and holding a mug of coffee he had not touched. Dana sat on the sofa with her briefcase at her feet. Beside her was a woman named Elise Harper, from the County Family Services Fraud Unit, there to witness and document the forged childhood statement because it had been used in a court proceeding. A process server stood near the bookshelf with a manila envelope. The blue cookie tin sat on the coffee table. Lily slept against my chest in a wrap. "You do not have to do this," Samuel said quietly. I looked at him. "Yes, I do." "No," he said. "You don't. That's different." I understood what he meant. For once, I was not being used. I was choosing. At exactly noon, 3 cars pulled up. My mother arrived first in a white SUV, wearing sunglasses and carrying a diaper bag she had bought without asking me. Len came behind her with a cooler. Marissa stepped out of a minivan with Blake and the twins, both boys already fighting over a tablet. Blake opened the trunk and lifted out 2 suitcases. Suitcases she had really come to move in. I watched from inside as my mother marched up the porch steps like she owned the boards beneath her feet. She did not knock. Of course she did not knock. She opened the door with the spare key I had forgotten she still had from my old apartment. It did not fit the new lock, so it scraped uselessly. That sound satisfied me more than it should have. She frowned, then rang the bell. I opened the door. "Finally," she said, pushing forward. "Why is the lock different? Because it's my house." She looked past me. "Don't start. Blake, bring the bags. Marissa, take the upstairs before Clara gets dramatic." Then she stepped into the living room and stopped. Everyone behind her collided softly into the pause. Len behind Vivian, Marissa behind Len, Blake behind Marissa. The twins whispering because even children know when a room has teeth. My mother stared at the man in the armchair. For the first time in my entire life, Vivian Wren had no expression ready. Samuel stood slowly. "Hello, Vivian." Marissa looked from him to me. "Who is that?" My mother's mouth opened, closed, omed again. "He's nobody," she said. Samuel's face changed. Not anger exactly. Something older. "I was nobody when you returned my letters," he said. "I was nobody when you cashed my checks. I was nobody when you told my daughter I was dead. But I am not nobody in this room." Len's cooler slipped from his hand and hit the floor. Marissa whispered, "Dead?" I turned to her. "This is Samuel Hale, my father." The word father hit the room like furniture falling downstairs. My mother snapped back into motion. "No," she said sharply. "No, absolutely not, Clara, you are postpartum and confused. This is exactly why I said we needed to be here. You are letting strange men into your house with my grandchild." Dana stood. "My name is Dana Cho. I represent Clara Wren in matters involving custodial account fraud, falsified family court statements, and misappropriation of child support funds." My mother blinked at her. "You represent what?" The woman from the county stepped forward next. "Elise Harper, County Family Services Fraud Unit. I'm here to witness a voluntary disclosure regarding a minor statement submitted to court records in 1998. My mother turned white beneath her makeup. The process server held out the envelope. "Vivian Wren?" Nobody moved. He looked at the paper. "Vivian Louise Wren," Len whispered. "Viv." She did not take it, so he placed it on the entry table. "You've been served." Marissa started crying immediately, not because she understood. Because crying was the thing she did when the script broke. "What is happening?" she demanded. "Clara, what did you do?" That old sentence. What did you do? Not what happened to you. What did you do? I adjusted Lily against my chest and looked at my sister. I opened a tin. Dana untied the string. She did it carefully, almost respectfully. Then she laid the contents on the coffee table: birthday cards, returned envelopes, money order copies, bank deposit records, the forged statement from the family court file, a copy of my grandmother Elise's letter. My mother made a small sound when she saw her own mother's handwriting. It was not grief. It was recognition. Dana spoke calmly. Samuel Hale made regular child support and custodial savings deposits from 1992 until 2006. Vivian Wren, acting as custodial guardian, withdrew the contents of Clara's account shortly before Clara's 18th birthday. We have bank records showing a withdrawal of $48,000. Blake muttered, "48?" Dana turned a page. Additionally, a statement allegedly signed by Clara at age 9 was submitted to family court to oppose visitation. Clara denies writing it. A preliminary document review suggests adult-guided fabrication. The county investigator wrote something in her notebook. My mother found her voice. "This is ancient history." Samuel stepped forward. "My daughter grew up thinking I abandoned her." Vivian pointed at him. "You did abandon her. You gave up. I paid every month." "You sent money," she spat. "That's not parenting. You returned my letters because you upset the house." The house? Samuel repeated softly. Or your control of it? My mother's face sharpened. There she was. The saint was gone. The woman who lived beneath her had entered the room. You have no idea what I carried, she said. He left me with a baby. Samuel stared at her. You left me before she was born. That sentence shifted the whole room. Marissa looked at our mother. What? Vivian's eyes flashed. Your sister doesn't need every ugly detail. I think I do, I said. Samuel looked at me, asking permission. I nodded. He spoke slowly, carefully, like a man placing glass on a shelf. Vivian and I were not married. We were planning to be. When she was pregnant, she ended the relationship. She said I wasn't ambitious enough. I filed for shared custody after Clara was born. Vivian fought it. I paid support. I came when the court allowed. Then the visits stopped. She claimed Clara was frightened of me. Later, I was told Clara refused contact. I believed I was doing less harm by staying away. He looked at me then. I was wrong. My throat tightened. My mother laughed once, ugly. Oh, please, don't make him noble. He could have tried harder. Harder than court? I asked. Harder than checks? Harder than birthday cards you returned? You were a child. Yes, I said. That was the point. The room went quiet. Marissa stared at the cards as if they might rearrange themselves into a version of life she preferred. Len sat slowly on the edge of a moving box he had carried in without permission. Blake stood near the door, no longer holding suitcases, already looking like he wished he had stayed in the car. My mother's eyes moved to the blue tin, then to me. Then to Lily, and just like that, she reached for the one weapon she thought would still work. You are unstable, she said. You just had major surgery. You're emotional. You're sleep-deprived. You're letting bitterness put your baby in danger. The county investigator looked up. My mother saw her attention and continued, louder. I came here because I was worried. We all were. Clara has been isolating, refusing help, making reckless decisions, buying a house alone with a newborn. Now she has brought strangers into the home. I think the baby should come with me until Clara gets help. There it was. Not just the house, the baby. I had felt it under the phone call the night before. The way she said my grandchild. Not your daughter. My grandchild. My mother had not come to help. She had come to take position. Donna opened another folder. Since you raised concern about the baby's safety, she said, we should address the notarized temporary caregiving form you sent to Clara's hospital social work department 2 days after Lily's birth. My mother froze. I felt my own body go cold. Dana had not told me this part yet. What form? I asked. Dana's voice softened only when she looked at me. We received it this morning after requesting records connected to outside family contact. Someone faxed a document to the hospital claiming Clara had verbally authorized Vivian Wren as temporary caregiver in the event of postpartum instability. The room seemed to breathe in and never breathe out. Dana placed the form on the coffee table. My name was on it, my signature was on it, except it was not mine. The signature was close, too close. A careful imitation from someone who had seen my hand on birthday cards and medical forms, but the C curled wrong. The W in Wren was too narrow. I looked at my mother. She did not deny it fast enough. Marissa whispered, Mom. Vivian's eyes darted around the room. That was precautionary. I heard Lily breathing against my chest, tiny, warm. Real a quiet I had never known moved through me. Not fear, something beyond fear, a locked door. You forged my signature to take my baby. I did not take her, my mother snapped. I protected her from your pride. The investigator stood fully now. Mrs. Wren, I advise you to stop speaking until you have counsel. My mother pointed at me, shaking. You think you can raise a child alone, you? You were always too sensitive, too stubborn, too desperate for attention. I made you useful. I made you responsible. Without me, you would have turned into him. She pointed at Samuel. That was when Samuel finally lost the stillness. Not his temper, his stillness. He stepped between my mother's finger and me. Do not point at my daughter. For 34 years, no one in my family had ever stood between Vivian Wren and me. I thought it would feel triumphant. It did not. It felt like discovering you had been cold your whole life, only after someone finally closed the window. Marissa was sobbing now. Mom, did you use Clara's money for my car? Vivian turned on her. Don't start acting innocent. You loved that car. I was 17. You needed it more than she needed some account. She was always going to be fine. Clara survives anything. There it was. The family motto, I survived, so they called it permission. I looked at my mother and understood I would never get the apology I had once wanted. not because she was incapable of speaking the words. Because apology requires a person to admit another person was harmed. To Vivian, I had not been harmed. I had been used correctly. Dana gathered the documents into a clean stack. Vivian, the demand letter requests restitution of the withdrawn custodial funds, cooperation with the bank investigation, an immediate written agreement not to contact Clara or Lily except through counsel. The forged hospital caregiving form will be referred separately. Blake picked up one suitcase. We should go. My mother turned on him. Put that down. No, he said, surprising everyone. No, Viv, we should go. Len stood too, older than he had looked when he entered. Vivian, he said weakly, what did you do? She looked at him with contempt. What you let me do. That sentence was the truest thing she had said all day. Len looked as if she had slapped him. Maybe she had. Just in a language he finally understood. I walked to the front door and opened it. The same door my mother had planned to walk through as owner, grandmother, authority, judge. This is my house, I said. You are leaving it. She stared at me. You will regret this when you need family. I looked at Samuel, at Dana, at the woman with the badge, at my sleeping daughter. No, I said. I think I just found out what that word means. My mother walked out last, not because she had dignity, because she wanted to make us watch. On the porch, she turned back once. You are just like me, she said. For a second, the old Clara flinched, then Lily sighed in her sleep, and I knew exactly who I was not. No, I said. I'm the one who stops you. I closed the door. No one clapped. Real life rarely gives applause in the rooms where you become free. Instead, the process server adjusted his jacket. The investigator asked Dana about next steps. Marissa cried in her minivan. Len stood in the driveway with his hands hanging uselessly at his sides. My mother sat in the passenger seat of the white SUV, facing forward like a queen driven out of a country she still believed belonged to her. And I stood inside my own house with milk leaking through my shirt, stitches burning, my newborn asleep against my chest and my father crying quietly by the window. That was noon. But noon was not the end. Noon was the moment the paper began talking. The first official letter went out that afternoon. Dana sent it to my mother, the bank, the hospital, and the county attorney. It preserved evidence, challenged the forged documents, demanded restitution, and warned Vivian Wren not to contact me directly. My mother responded by doing exactly what controlling people do when private control fails. She went public. By evening, half the church had received her version. Poor Vivian, heartbroken, trying to help her unstable postpartum daughter. Poor Vivian, accused by a man who abandoned his child and came back for money. Poor Vivian, kept from her newborn granddaughter by lawyers and lies. She posted a picture of herself holding Lily in the hospital, taken before I understood what she was planning, with the caption, "A grandmother's love is being punished. Please pray for truth." The comments filled quickly. Praying Vivian, postpartum emotions can be dangerous. A baby needs family so heartbreaking. I read them at 2 a.m. while feeding Lily and felt the old pull to explain, to type paragraphs, to defend myself to women who had eaten my mother's casseroles and mistaken seasoning for virtue. My thumb hovered over the screen. Then Samuel, sleeping on the couch because he refused to leave us alone that first night, sat up. "Don't," he said gently. "I hate that they believe her." "Paper remembers," he said. I looked at him through the blue glow of my phone. He smiled sadly. "I wrote that to you because I needed to believe it." I set the phone down. The next morning, Dana filed for a protective order against harassment and submitted the forged hospital caregiving form. The hospital launched an internal review. The notary stamp on the form turned out to belong to a woman who had notarized documents for my mother's church committee. She denied notarizing that form and reported her stamp had been left unattended during a fundraiser. By the end of the week, my mother's prayer post disappeared, not because she was sorry, because her lawyer told her to stop creating evidence. Marissa came to my house 9 days after noon. She came alone, no Blake, no twins, no tears ready at the surface. Just my sister on the porch holding a paper bag from the bakery we loved as kids. I opened the door but kept the chain on. Her eyes dropped to it. "I deserve that," she said. I did not argue. She held up the bag. Blueberry muffins. "Is this an apology muffin?" She gave a broken laugh. "It's a coward muffin." That was the first honest thing Marissa had ever said to me without being forced. I let her in. We sat at the kitchen table while Lily slept in the swing, and Samuel worked quietly in the backyard, fixing the loose gate without asking if I needed it done. Marissa looked out the window at him. He really is your father. Yes. Do you hate me? I looked at her. My first answer was too simple. My real answer took longer. I hate what you were allowed to become around me. She nodded, tears forming but not falling. That's fair. I waited. She took an envelope from her purse and pushed it across the table. I found records. Mom gave us money for the down payment on our first house, she said. Grandma Elise left it for both of us, but the dates match your account withdrawal. Blake and I are refinancing. We can't pay it all at once, but I want to pay back my part. I stared at the envelope. Inside were copies of bank statements and a handwritten note. $22,000, not everything, but not nothing. Why? I asked. Marissa wiped one tear with her thumb. Because I don't want to be her anymore. That sentence did more than any apology could have. We did not hug. I was not ready. She did not ask me to be. That mattered. Over the next months, consequences arrived slowly, then all at once. The bank completed its review and confirmed that the custodial account withdrawal had violated transfer procedures. Because the original records were old and some claims were beyond simple recovery, the settlement was complicated. Vivian was required to repay the amount she had taken, adjusted through a civil agreement Dana negotiated with the precision of a surgeon. My mother tried to claim she used the funds for my care. Dana asked for receipts. My mother produced none. The forged childhood statement went to the county attorney. The hospital caregiving form went to a separate investigator. The church notary admitted she had allowed Vivian access to the stamp during committee paperwork. She cried through her statement. My mother called her a liar until Dana produced a security camera clip from the church office hallway, showing Vivian entering with a folder and leaving with it pressed under her coat. That clip did what my tears never could. It made people stop calling her misunderstood. Len moved into a small apartment by the interstate. He came to see me once. I almost did not let him in. He stood on the porch looking smaller than any grown man should. I should have stopped her, he said. Yes, I answered. He nodded. No defense, no weather forecast, no don't upset your mother, just yes. I told myself I was keeping peace, he said. But I was keeping her comfortable. I shifted Lily on my hip. What do you want from me? He looked at the baby, then back at me. Nothing. I just wanted to say it where you could hear. That was the only apology from that house that did not ask to be fed. I let him leave with it. My mother lost her committee positions first. Then the calls, then the invitations. It was not dramatic. No public shunning in the church aisle. No women throwing casseroles back at her door. Just the slow, devastating withdrawal of an audience. Vivian Wren had lived on being believed. When belief left, she did not know how to stand alone. She called me from blocked numbers for a while, sometimes sweet, sometimes crying. You'll understand when your daughter grows up. I would look at Lily, kicking on a blanket with one sock always missing, and think, no, I understand already. A child is not proof of ownership. A child is a person you are trusted not to break. I changed my number. I changed the locks again. I planted lavender by the porch because my grandmother Elise had loved it, and because I wanted something at the entrance my mother had never chosen. Samuel stayed for 2 months. At first, we were careful with each other. Too polite. He asked before washing dishes. I asked before leaving Lily with him while I showered. We moved around the house like people in a museum, afraid of touching anything history had made fragile. Then one afternoon, Lily would not stop crying. I was exhausted, covered in spit up, still sore, the kind of tired that makes walls seem personal. Samuel found me sitting on the nursery floor crying harder than the baby. I can't do this, I said. He sat beside me, leaving space. You are doing it. I'm angry all the time. You have a lot to be angry about. I wanted a mother. He looked down at his hands. I wanted to be a father. That was the first time our grief sat in the same room without competing. He took Lily, walked her slowly around the nursery, and sang a song I did not know. She quieted. I cried harder, not because he did it better, because someone had arrived and not taken over. There is a difference. By autumn, the house felt like ours. Not mine alone. Not his. Ours in the temporary, chosen way people make shelter together after a storm. The nursery walls were pale green. The loose gate was fixed. The bookshelf was finally built, slightly crooked because I insisted on doing the last shelf myself. Samuel made a small wooden cradle that Lily outgrew almost immediately, but I kept it anyway. Marissa came once a week with the twins. The first few visits were awkward. The boys were loud. Marissa over-apologized. I under-responded. We burned coffee. We stepped around old landmines. Then one Tuesday, one of the twins spilled juice on the rug and froze, waiting for a storm. Marissa inhaled sharply. I saw Vivian flash through her face. Then Marissa knelt down and said, "It's juice. We clean juice." I turned toward the sink so she would not see me cry. People can change. Not because you need them to, not because you beg them to. Only because they choose the humiliation of seeing themselves clearly. Marissa was choosing. My mother was not. That difference became the boundary. The final public moment came 6 months after noon. The county hearing was held in a beige municipal room that smelled like old carpet and coffee. It was not cinematic. Fluorescent lights, metal chairs, a clock that ticked too loudly, but it was public. My mother sat with her lawyer wearing navy blue and pearls. She looked smaller without a kitchen to command, or a church hall to charm. Len sat 3 rows behind her. Marissa sat beside me. Samuel sat on my other side, holding Lily, who had chosen that morning to discover happy shrieking. Dana presented the timeline, return letters, child support records, custodial account withdrawal, forged minor statement, hospital caregiving form, church hallway video. The blue cookie tin sat on the table, not as evidence anymore, but as the thing that had started the unwinding. When the hearing officer asked Vivian whether she wanted to make a statement, she stood. For 1 second, I saw the old performance gather, the wounded mother, the sacrificed woman, the saint with good lipstick. Then her eyes moved across the room. Not one person softened fast enough. She looked at Samuel, at Marissa, at Len, at me, at Lily. And perhaps for the first time in her life, she understood that an audience is not the same as support. "I did what I thought was best," she said. "That was all, not sorry, not wrong. Best." Donna's pen stopped moving. The hearing officer wrote something down. My mother sat. The restitution order was affirmed. The protective order remained in place. The hospital form was referred for further criminal review. The forged childhood statement was sealed with a formal correction added to the file. Not erased. Corrected. That mattered to me. For most of my life, my mother had believed that if she wrote a lie early enough, it became truth. Now the truth sat beside it in permanent ink. After the hearing, Vivian approached me in the hallway despite her lawyer's hand on her arm. She looked at Lily, not me. "She looks like you did as a baby." I stepped back. "You don't get to use memories as keys anymore." Her mouth tightened. "I am your mother." I looked at Samuel holding my daughter with both hands, careful as sunrise. I looked at Marissa standing still beside me, not interfering. I looked at Dana closing her briefcase. "No," I said. "You are the person I came from. That is not the same thing." She flinched. I thought it would feel cruel. It felt accurate. We walked out into the cold sunlight. No one chased us. No one shouted. The world did not know that a sentence had just ended 34 years of noise. But I knew that was enough. Life after that did not become perfect. I want to be honest because perfect endings are another kind of lie. Some nights I still woke up angry. Not crying. Angry I would remember the birthday cards unopened, the fake statement with childish letters, the red car, the hospital form. The way my mother said my grandchild like Lily was a room she planned to occupy. Therapy helped. Sleep helped when Lily allowed it, so did ordinary things. Grocery shopping with Samuel, who took 20 minutes to choose apples. Watching Marissa teach the twins to knock before entering a room. Drinking coffee on the porch while Lily chewed on a wooden teething ring her grandfather made. Paying my mortgage from my own account. Seeing my name on mail addressed to my house. Clara Wren, not useful one, not dramatic one, not ungrateful one. Just Clara. One spring afternoon, almost a year after I moved in, Samuel brought me a small wooden box. He had made it from maple, salvaged from a cabinet job. The lid was smooth, the corners perfect, the inside lined with blue felt. "For the cards?" he said. I touched the lid. "I don't know if I can keep reading them." "You don't have to. Keeping is different from reopening." I placed the 31 birthday cards inside, then the photo of him holding me, then my grandmother Elise's letter. Finally, I placed a copy of the corrected court file on top. Paper remembered, now wood would hold it. That evening, we had dinner in the backyard. Marissa brought potato salad. Blake came too, quieter than before, humbled by debt and truth. Len brought folding chairs and asked where to put them instead of assuming. Dana stopped by with wine and said she never stayed for client dinners, then stayed for 3 hours. The twins chased bubbles. Lily sat in her high chair wearing more food than she ate. Samuel raised a glass of lemonade. "To doors that lock," he said. Everyone laughed. I did too. But later, after dishes were done and the house was quiet, I stood by the front door and touched the lock. A door is such a simple thing until you have lived without one. A door says here and not there. A door says knock. A door says no. A door says the person inside decides. For 34 years, my mother had treated me like a hallway, a place to pass through on her way to what she wanted. Now I was a house. Have you ever had to stop explaining yourself to someone who was committed to misunderstanding you? If you have, then you know the silence after the final sentence. It does not feel peaceful at first. It feels like withdrawal, like your body is reaching for the old script and finding empty air. But stay there, in that empty air, something grows, a self, a boundary. A life no one else gets to move into without permission. My name is Clara Wren. I am a hospital discharge planner. I am a mother. I am Samuel Hale's daughter, not because blood magically fixes absence, but because truth gave us a beginning and we both chose to keep showing up. I am Marissa's sister, carefully, slowly, with the door partly open and the light on. I am Vivian Wren's child by birth, but not her property. I bought a yellow house after giving birth, with stitches under my dress and fear in my throat, and a newborn asleep beside me. My mother thought that made me weak. She thought exhaustion would make me easy to move. She thought the old story still worked. She forgot something. The useful one learns where everything is kept. The quiet one hears what people say when they think she does not matter. The daughter who stops begging for love has room in her hands for evidence. And when they came at noon with suitcases, plans, and a stolen version of my life, they did not find a frightened new mother waiting to be managed. They found me. They found the father she buried without a grave. They found the cards she returned. They found the forms she forged. They found the paper that remembered. And they found a locked door that finally belonged to me.